All right, Seattle Reign. Yes, you heard that right. We have a rebrand for Seattle. They are going back to their roots. The Queen is back in Seattle. This is a side that finished in 2023 in fourth under Laura Harvey. They continued to go on throughout the postseason, and ultimately they made it all the way to the championship. They end up losing to Gotham in that final match. But they picked up a lot of points throughout the year. They also lost a lot of players in this offseason, perhaps one of the rosters that got deflated the most without kind of adding too much back up into it. Sandra, when you look at Seattle Reign, the Queen is back. They are without Megan Rapinoe for the first time ever, but they're also without Rose Lavelle, Emily Sonnet, Sam Hyatt. Big name players are missing for Laura Harvey.
Yeah, it's gonna look different, and maybe by extension it might feel different. I don't know if when I say feel different, I don't know if if I actually mean tactically on the pitch. Just something about maybe the swagger and a little bit of the culture. I think that's something that you also kind of mourn or grieve a little bit when you have such an iconic player and Megan Rapinoe kind of making her exit. And then as far as the free agency period did not exactly go in their favor. Look, there were a number of teams having to deal with some similar things here, whether it was Portland, Seattle, or Chicago. These long-standing existing franchises navigating off seasons while also kind of welcoming in new ownerships or finalizing deals for new ownership. It makes things difficult on the back end there to maybe try to really get in there and, in Seattle's case, retain or even sign new players. But having lost Megan Rapinoe to retirement, no Sonnet, no Lavelle, I think you take a look at what they have tried to bring in, and whether it's Jisoo Yoon or Angar James or even their draft pick in Sam Mesa, I think these are kind of maybe long-term vision type things for Seattle. I mean, there's something Laura Harvey can do is get an international player into the mix and get them to buy into what she wants to perform out on the pitch. So I'm very excited to see the arrival of Jisoo Yoon in NWSL. What does it mean? What is it going to look like? And I'm glad that it's going to be with the Reign. I'm glad that it's going to be with Laura Harvey and her coaching staff. And I think you also take a look at what's already there, right? I think this is a team that is runners up in that NWSL championship. And while, yes, they did lose some couple of key starters from that final, there's a good chunk of this roster that is coming back. I mean, you're still going to have veterans in Barnes, in Fishlock. You have arguably their focal point out wide, on the flank in Sofia Huerta. These are players who have become synonymous at this point with Reign football, and they're back. And again, taking a look at where the playoff line is now, I wouldn't be surprised if Seattle finds themselves back in the midst of the playoffs. I don't know how high they're going to go, but I wouldn't be shocked to see them there.
Yeah, I think you look at this team and you kind of forget how stacked they still are. They still have Veronica Lasco, who had a great playoff run. I think she showed how she carried the team. Jordan Heidema up top. Ziara King, who didn't get as much playing time as maybe I would have liked to see her get.
Yep. With
these bigger name players leaving, I think it actually creates a lot of space for these players that we don't see get to shine. When you have a team full of superstars like Megan Rapinoe, you kind of play based on how that player is playing. Like, your whole team adjusts to that, which is great. But I think with her leaving, Rose Lavelle leaving, who dictates style of play for a team as well, this allows a lot of freedom. We're obviously not going to see the same style of play from Seattle, I don't think. I think they're going to have to make some adjustments. They're not going to rely in the same way on those players anymore. It's going to be much more of a full team effort. Maybe sort of how we saw Gotham do it last year, because they didn't have that. So I think it's going to be...
But Seattle doesn't have this underdog mentality.
They might. I don't know. I think when games start to happen, that's when you develop that.
Yeah, when you're losing. I just
Tell us
don't
what you
yeah.
think, Lisa.
I
When
just
you
don't
have
see it.
to win ugly or be really chaotic, I don't know. I think you develop a different type of mentality, and Laura Harvey's a great coach. She gets players bought in. So however that's
Yeah.
going to come about, maybe it's not going to be this beautiful style soccer we usually see from Seattle with these deep whipped balls in constantly. And, maybe it's going to be a gritty for some part of the season. I can still see them acquiring players throughout the year in some ways. I don't think we're done seeing the moves that Seattle's going to make. Sandra, I think to your point, it's tough to make a lot of changes when everything else is going on with sell of the team and blah, blah, blah. But I am interested to see how they're going to make changes when you don't have players like that you kind of dictate the way that you play around.
Building around. Yeah, that's a good point. I think that Laura Harvey will bring in more pieces as the season unfolds. This will be a marathon for Seattle this year. We are not going to know what's happening with this team in the first 2 months of play. I just don't think we're going to see the same team in the first 2 months that we will see in the final 2 months of this NWSL season, for better or for worse, whether they acquire different players, whether they rotate a lot more, whether we see their style almost evolve throughout this season. I could see that happening. I just don't. I'm a little bit confused as to what's going to happen with this side. Although they lose Rose Lavelle, she frankly didn't play that much last year. She was out on a lot of injuries and she wasn't there. So I think that helps the transition of the midfield for this side because they didn't rely on her playing 80 minutes every single match last year. But this is still a side that I think has a lot of question marks in losing some of the players that they lost. I don't know. This is like the worst analysis I can give you, but I am just so uncertain with how Seattle is going to play this year. I have no doubt that Laura Harvey is going to rally this group together and bring them along, but they are not underdogs. They have never been underdogs since 2013, when the year started and the league started and they were founding members of it, they were not underdogs. And now that they have this rebrand and they're back to Seattle Reign, the Queen is back. I think they have this mentality of we are the Queens and we are back. So we're going to run through this league, which has helped them in the past, but I don't know if it's going to help them this year, frankly.
I think Ji So-yeon is going to be a big addition, though. Her leadership she brings to the team and playmaking, goal scoring ability is going to be huge. Whatever style of play we see them come out with, I think she's going to be a leader in this. Between her, Fishlock, Barnes, it's still they're still going to be a great team. It's just, you're right, Lisa. It's a lot of question marks. We simply don't know.
You know who I think
this weekend will be very telling. You
know who I think is going to carry that underdog kind of chip for them, for the mentality? I think Bethany Balcer is going to be the one for them. I think she's going to come out with like something to prove because she always does. I love
she
that
always
about
does.
her. I love that about her.
She's gritty.
Yeah,
so,
I love watching her play. I hope she gets really consistent minutes this year. In the front line.
Maybe they'll do a double 9.
That would be fun. That would be
really fun.
Okay. I'm excited now. I'm really excited. Okay, so you can watch Seattle Reign and the new rebrand and see how they do. Who knows? Against Washington Spirit, their first match Sunday, March 17th at 6 o'clock Eastern time.